I'm Jim Davis, and these are micro thoughts about the philosophy of voluntarism. We remove the humanity to remove the responsibility. Regardless of living in a first, second, or third world society, people go through the motions of everyday activities as if they are the normal humdrum. Please and thank you are uttered just as emotionlessly as just put the money in the bag is, or even how automatically a trigger is pulled and the sight of a body falling to the floor is shrugged off. What is similar in all these cases is the lack of connections made between one another. There is no recognition of value with honest intent to build lasting connections. The removal of humanity from all of these interactions allows them to be performed for the sake of just getting them over with to be paid, rewarded, not sued, left alone, or to acquire some vast wealth today, but at the expense of the future. This cost is loneliness for all the noted actions. The bland and mundane will not be remembered, while the aggressive might be, but only to be rejected and shunned. We refuse to make connections with others because it is costly in terms of our time, intellect, and labor that could be used to do other things that are more comforting initially. We don't want this discomfort of being rejected by these attempts, injured by getting involved to stop a robber, or the misguided animosity of an upset individual because we didn't greet them or say please and thank you. So we end up creating these illusions of connections on so many of our better days. The others are just acts of apathy to stay the hand of destruction. The truth is that we need to connect with others, if only to let them know that we see the value they have placed on their own lives and are willing to respect it at least as much to let them peacefully and honestly create and maintain it. Recognizing the value we each place upon ourselves is the beginning of the philosophy of voluntarism. I wrote this the other day on just a whim. It was just something that I happened to think about, and it came on the heels of a conversation I had with my life partner. She and I were discussing something that triggered a conversation about Republicans tend to be, when they're in power, there's this correlation between their power and the death of women, particularly through abortion and other medical procedures. The discussion didn't stay very long on the idea about this correlation actually happening. The discussion got sidetracked and turned into why is it okay to just generalize all the Republicans? Now, this is no defense against Republicans. This has everything to do with understanding the issue at hand. So many of us will go and say a group of these people did this, a group of these people did that. Republicans end up allowing more people to do things that are bad. Democrats are the party of slavery. Libertarians seem to be disconnected with the world. Anarchists all want death and destruction and violence. Men are always stronger than women. Women should be in the kitchen, so on and so forth. What does this do? Well, it removes the humanity from these people. So when we say, as voluntarists or peaceful anarchists, that government employees are people who are politicians, career politicians, are sociopaths, we're removing the human element from who they are. We understand that they are still a life form. We understand that they're still living beings and they're human. They're humans, but we seem to negate all the good stuff that they potentially could do. I'm not saying through the use of government, but just as an individual. So if we want to understand what our biggest problem is as far as being advocates of peaceful anarchism and voluntarism, are as dissenters of government, as the promoters of peace in general, we need to understand that our actions are what define us. And if we are going to call somebody something negative and nasty, even if it is just a shock value in order to wake them up, even if it is true that their actions are saying that they are X or they are Y or Z, we need to make sure that we are addressing these people as whoever they are. So if we're going to criticize the President of the United States, we can voice our opinion about that and say Donald Trump instead of President Trump. But we don't have to necessarily say that sociopath in the White House. We can just simply recognize the fact that he is still a man. He's doing things that we don't approve of. We don't have to show him the respect that comes with that sort of office that other people think we need to show, but we also don't have to degrade them. This is the neutral foundation of all of our actions. This is the non-aggression principle. This is what things are supposed to be built upon if we are going to be advocates of peaceful anarchism, if we're going to be advocates of voluntarism. So, in order to understand this a little further, the non-aggression principle is to simply not do any harm. If words can heal people, then they can injure people. If words can create, then words can also destroy. And that's something that we want to avoid. Using these harsh words and blaming the target of them for feeling hurt is like slicing someone's hand with a knife and blaming them that their skin is too soft. So when advocates or dissenters of government mock others who understand something differently as being less intelligent than they, the only thing created is a divide out of a destroyed connection to further comprehension for all parties involved. However, to recognize the importance of learning something new requires, at least on one individual, to recognize they may not know everything, and that means the most important individual you can teach is yourself. Failure to recognize this leads people to assume that they fully understand everything, or even most of what they need to teach. In reality, they may end up stuck on a stepping stone of thought, never realizing there is more to learn. So, the philosophy of voluntarism. If we want to understand what this is, we need to understand that everybody places value on their lives, and they want that respected, at least in a small enough quantity so that they may continue to peacefully and honestly create the real wealth that they need in order to maintain and or improve the quality of their lives. For now, I'd like to thank you for your time. If you found this helpful, please like, share, and give it a thumbs up. I base all of my work on my books, Liberty Defined and Morality Defined. If you'd like to encourage more content like this, please visit my website, jimlimberdavis.com, to explore more of my works, download free copies of my books, and consider donating even just $1. Thank you so much for taking a peacefully proactive solution in raising humanity's pinnacles of success faster and more efficiently through peaceful comprehension and creation, instead of hostile ridicule and destruction.